Today I finished my 365 days of Dr. Joe Dispenza Breath, and I did each day 30 till 90 minutes of his breath in the morning and sometimes up to 3 hours. And I can tell you one thing, things are gonna get very mystical and weird. So, my name is Koen Walstra, and in this video I'm gonna share what happened over the last year doing the Breath of Joe Dispenza. And I started with it last year when I was on the June event from him, on the advanced week-long June event in Cancun. And I thought, okay, I really want to handle and be able to do this breath correctly. And so I set myself a challenge of 2 months, and that went over into a 1-year experiment. And I can tell you one thing, it truly changed my life. This video will be divided in 3 parts. First, I will share how my overall feeling and life quality changed. Then I will share the things that mostly happened when I was doing the breath. And as last thing, I will give 3 tips how I quickly handled the breath, and that made it for me so much easier. But first of all, hit that subscribe button if you want to see my upcoming video where I share how 1000 days of Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation changed my life. To start this first part, I want to say that till today I have still big respect for this breath. And when you do it for the first time or start with it, it can be quite scary because you have absolutely no idea what's gonna happen. And you just have to trust and go full in. And I have to say that even till today, every breath session is different and different things come up. So I still have respect for it, but that's also the exciting part about it, I would say. And it completely changed my life in the last 12 months. So the biggest change that I overall see is that there's just this very deep inner peace, and I would say very incredible self-love that has been building up over the last 12 months. And I'm deeply touched by this present that I got. And I have to say, I went in the last 12 months through 2 very big challenges. So first, my father being diagnosed with Alzheimer and going backwards. And my fiance breaking up after a 7-year relationship. But I have to say that this breath was really my magic stick and lifesaver during this period. And it is because when you do this breath, you pull out all these emotions and all this trauma. And I just saw that so often I was completely in my head and overwhelmed with emotions. And when I then did this breath, there came just this very deep peace inside of me. And every day that I do this breath, it is growing. So I would say this is the first thing that just made a huge difference. Then the second thing that I notice is that things just don't bother me so much anymore. And this is just such a blessing, and life became so much more easy through it. Like till a year ago, I still had a lot of very small things bothering me. But I have the feeling, because with the breath you pull out all these old traumas and emotions, that there are just much less triggers inside of me. And the advantage of that as well is that I have the feeling that I'm much more in line with the universe and much more in flow. So what I see is that there are just a lot of things coming towards me. So a lot of synchronicities, coincidences of which you know that there are no coincidence. And things are just going more automatically, I would say, and more easy. And then another big thing that happened is that there just fell off so many fears. So for instance, one of my biggest fears, and I will be completely honest here, was sitting in front of the camera and making videos. But I already wanted to start this YouTube channel for 2 years now, but I never had the guts to do it. And actually through the breath, it helped me so much to release all these fears. And now I've started this YouTube channel and I'm so grateful for it. Alright guys. And for this second part, it's gonna get very mystical, weird, but also a lot of fun, because in this part I'm gonna share the things that mostly happened. And what I just saw was that there were like 5-6 things coming over and over back. And I will be honest, I have absolutely no clue how these things happen. But one thing that I do know by now is that there's much more in this universe than we can perceive with our senses. And the first thing that happened, and this was actually something that happened a lot, and it was that I felt that day a certain emotion or a nasty feeling, and I started doing the breath, and out of a sudden I was shot back into a traumatic experience of the past. And that could be anything. For instance, that I was picked upon when I was very young. And I saw it as real as that I see the camera here. And I was more or less back in that experience, going through it one more time. And when I did the breath, or when I do then the breath over and over, I see more or less how it blurs away, how the sensation becomes less and less. And at a certain point, I'm just back in the room where I'm doing the breath, and I'm very relaxed, and I have the feeling that that traumatic experience is gone. So that was the first thing. Then the second thing that happened moreover, and this one was quite similar to the first one, but it was something that was not in this life. So I had the feeling it was a past life experience, and sometimes I even heard past life coming by. And it was at least not something that happened in this life. And I still remember the first time so clearly, because there I did the breath, and out of a sudden I had this very nasty emotion, and I saw myself being burned at the stake, and I was standing binded there on this choir, I think it's in English, or stake, and all these flames coming up on all the sides of me, and just smelling the fire and feeling the heat. And I had the feeling that there I was going through a trauma, and then at a certain point I just did the breath a couple of times, and then I started feeling more and more and more and more love in that situation. I could let it go, and like by the first one, I would be back into the room, and I was relaxed, and the traumatic feeling was gone. Then another thing that sometimes happened, and I was every time so amazed and blown away when this happened, were outer body experiences, and also experiences where I was out of a sudden at a location I didn't know, with people I didn't know. And you could actually say that that's also an outer body experience. And so 2 times I had it that I did a breath, and suddenly I was hanging above my body, seeing myself doing the breath. And I had more often that I did a breath, and I was at a location where I had no clue of where I was. So for instance, once I was out of a sudden in this monastery, walking around in traditional clothes. And another time I was in a room where I was surrounded by a lot of very loving people. And mostly when I did then another breath, I would just be in the room again where I was doing the breath. And I do have to be honest, if I would have said this to myself 2 years ago, I would have said that I was completely out of my mind. But I made to myself the commitment to share truthfully and honest what my experiences are to you guys. So yeah, these were incredibly amazing experiences. Then as fourth, and what also more often happens, is that I see mystical things or objects in the room where I am. So I do a breath, and out of a sudden, for instance, I saw these golden balls of light coming towards me, or this circle floating through the room in front of me. Or one time I saw this pyramid shape in front of me. And I even had it 2 times that I was in my own room, but out of a sudden I felt this very strong wind in my face. Until today I have absolutely no clue yet what exactly happened there. And then the last thing that can sometimes happen, and I think that I had it 2 times this year, is that the breath or your body automatically starts doing the breath when something painful happens. And I had it one time on the market that something happened, and out of a sudden my energy flow or the breath started automatically without me doing it. And I was just, I had to relax for 15 minutes. Afterwards, the painful thing was also processed and gone again. But it can be that it just automatically starts flowing. In this last part, I will still share 3 tips that made it for me much easier to control the breath. And Dr. Joe Dispenza always asks specifically to not teach his breath, so I will not teach it, but I will give 3 tips where you can experiment with that can make it, I think, much easier. And first of all, I mostly do the breath laying down. I do that because I like that the most. And I think in Blessing of the Energy Center 7, he explains the laying down breath. And that is just my preferred way. But sometimes I also do it sitting up. And then the one way that I think for me, it always works the easiest is doing a breath session after a walking meditation. And I think I started with walking meditation 5, but I loved walking meditation 5 and 6. And when you lay down after the meditation, I quite often put in a breath session. And I think that this is the easiest moment to do it. Then the second thing that I actually always do is that I do my breath session after the meditation. I have the feeling that during the meditation, your energy starts to flow more freely. And so for me, it's much easier doing it after the meditation. And I also see that in the newest meditations that Joe Dispenza brings out, he mostly starts with a heart opening. So he starts with actually a short activation of the heart and then does the breath. And I see that that is, for me at least, much easier. And so I always put them after the meditation. And then the last thing that makes it for me much easier is doing the breath after a short but intense workout. So I quite often do like a 10-15 minute HIIT workout, and I just do push-ups, some jumping squats. I know that someone else that I know does like a dancing workout. And then I sit for a minute or two, getting my breath again slow. And then right after I go into the breath session. And I have the feeling that because of the sport, your energy also flows more freely. And so after a short sports session, it goes by me much easier. So these were my experiences of the last 365 days Joe Dispenza Breath. I'm incredibly grateful for this powerful tool in my life, and I'm also very grateful for you watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you still have any other experiences you want to share, write them in the comments below. Also, like my video and subscribe to my channel for future videos. And I wish you an amazing day, and I'm sending you all my love.